It's been less than 2 weeks since former President Biden left office. His former chief economist is urging the new administration to be careful in dealing with inflation, saying if the Trump team's instincts are wrong, the costs will be high. Joining us now, former White House Council of Economic Advisors Chair Jared Bernstein. Jared, thank you for being here. So given what you know about the economy, the perch you sat in, the economy that the Trump administration has inherited, what are you most concerned about?
Well, thank you for having me on. I would say I'm most concerned about the kind of uncertainty that's generated by the policy lurching that we've seen over the past few days, along with potential inflationary effects from sweeping tariffs and potentially deportations. I've long been concerned about Fed independence, but I think that the economic team over there, Bessent, Kevin Hassett, those are folks I know a bit, especially Kevin. These are good economists, and I think they don't want to see interest rates or inflation go higher. So part of this is a matter of who wins those arguments internally.
And how do you distill kind of the rollout of everything? Because there are certain policies that could factor into the economy a little bit quicker. I'm thinking of, potential tax cuts, for example, but then other areas like deregulation, even tariffs and kind of the back and forth there, a bit more uncertain in how they work their way into the economy. So how do you think about the tug of war between these policies and the overall implication on the economy?
I think there's a much bigger threat from not just tariffs, but again, sweeping tariffs. Targeted tariffs, something we did in the Biden administration and actually the first Trump administration. Targeted tariffs can be potentially useful and effective. Sweeping tariffs used as a kind of proxy for foreign policy, that can be very damaging economically. It's also, I think, problematic geopolitically. Let me say one thing about tax cuts. If the Trump administration extends the Trump tax cuts, there's no fiscal impulse there. That doesn't change the economy's trajectory at all because it just keeps something that's here in place. What it does do is it significantly hurts our fiscal outlook. And that can be a potential problem in the bond market and for interest rates. And I think we've already seen the bond market kind of raise its eyebrow at the fiscal outlook, given some of these potential fiscal paths.
Certainly. Some who are supporters of tariffs have mentioned that they believe they'll be revenue generating. Do you buy that?
I'm skeptical. I mean, even if you take the most optimistic tariff generating numbers we've seen, they pay for less than half of extending the Trump tax cut. So I think those are way too optimistic. One of the things that, Trump hopes, I think, is that the tariffs will discourage imports. Well, there goes your revenues. So I would discount some of those numbers.
What do you make of the whole DeepSeek phenomenon that we saw this week and how it exposed essentially the fragility of this AI trade, the potential fragility of AI competitiveness and exceptionalism when it comes to AI? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me answer you first as an economist, which is that if somebody figures out a way to do something that supposedly costs tens or hundreds of billions for tens of millions, that's an unequivocally positive development. Now, add geopolitics and the risk of a potentially problematic country developing a tool that could be difficult for us. Of course, that's in the mix, and I know over there you're understandably concerned about market dynamics. But at least when you get to sort of the economics of technology, if the folks at DeepSeek have figured out a way to do this without sucking up tons of land and energy for data centers, that at least that part strikes me as potentially positive and injecting a level of competitiveness. When we hear these numbers, 65 billion, no, we're going to spend 85 billion. I don't think any of us, except maybe some of the experts, really know what kind of context we're talking about here. I've always thought those numbers seemed kind of inflated, such that it's just a contest to see who could pledge more. So this type of competition could be positive with a definite caveat for geopolitical implications.
Jared, I wonder how you're trying to account for what potentially might happen with deportations and labor market response to this, and how it really filters through to obviously labor supply and things like wages and inflation. And I mean, we talked about rent effects. Obviously, this was a core campaign promise of the president. He's following through. But as somebody who's a scholar of the labor market, what are your main issues or concerns?
Well, the labor market looks to me to be pretty well aligned right now, and that's very important, both in terms of inflation and probably even more so, and topically for today, from the Federal Reserve's perspective. If you deport a lot of folks, and not just broadly speaking, but in particular sectors, in industries that disproportionately hire immigrants and probably undocumented ones. So construction is a good example, certain parts of retail, parts of restaurants. Then you can see real potential supply shortfalls. We know what that does on the wage side, and that can feed into inflation. So I'm concerned that the combination of tariffs, deportation is potentially inflationary. If you then start to screw around with Fed independence, you have a real problem.
Jared, what do you expect to hear from Chair Powell on the subject of inflation later this afternoon?
What I think we might hear is some version of what we've been talking about today when it comes to the economy and my last response to those policy questions about the Trump administration. That is, I think the Fed's view of the macroeconomy is pretty much unchanged. Team Trump comes in, you get probably a little bit more animal spirits, a little bit lift there on the business side, but a lot more uncertainty on the policy side. What I expect to hear from Chair Powell is that we're pausing because we want to see what these policy ideas, the types we were just talking about, what kind of impact they might have on inflation and on interest rates. I think Chair Powell's careful not to wade into political waters, but he's already said, and I think correctly, that these policies can be impactful when setting interest rates. So what we should listen to is how they're thinking about the potential threat to inflation in particular from Trump tariff policies.